This is Florida Natural Farming at Frog Valley Tropical Fruit Farm. I was just watching this bug. Looks like a predatory wasp or something. It's like looking all over the leaf of this Philodendron giganteum for insects. It does this like Tai Chi moves. Very fascinating. I think it's a wasp, isn't it? It's like a... Yeah, there's a stinger on there. So I was just looking at my philodendrons and stuff, and anthuriums. I see a lot of people have this cacti, but it's not the very long-leafed form. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I really like it though. It looks like a fern leaf cactus probably, or something like that. I also have this orchid cacti. It gets orchid flowers on it. It's an orchid. It's a very nice, probably people could use it as a houseplant. Cacti succulent. Kind of obsessed with plants and figuring out how to grow them perfectly, natural, and it's pretty easy. It's just small increments of poop and staying off the system, basically. That's what it all comes down to, removing ourselves from the process. Standing down to nature. So most people grow these rare house plants in this stuff called Lacusa pon, and I was kind of shocked when I saw that that's what they used. And I read the stuff. It's like, you know, they use minerals, charcoal, calcium, and something else. But what people fail to realize is that it's also mixed with coated fertilizers, slow release fertilizers. And you know, these fertilizers are made with toxic substances, just so you know, heavy metals and stuff. And plants don't really respond well to chemicals. They'll grow, but they eventually will get sick and die. Depending on how artificial a system you have, guarantees how long that plant will live. So the more natural you can become, the more adept your plant is to grow well. Somebody wanted to know about leaf size, and they thought the grow tent would affect the leaf size on the anthuriums. The leaf size generally is indicative of how old the plant is. So these are all seedlings, Magnificum, Crystallinum, Veitchii. So the leaves are never going to get very big until the plant gets big, the chunk basically. So I like the anthuriums from Equigenera, USA, and I like their plants a lot. They're kind of expensive for the bigger plants, but if you're looking for big leaves, you kind of have to start with a big plant like this little tiny Lutherii, Anthurium Lutherii. It's sending out a new leaf, but it's not going to have huge leaves until the plant gets bigger. Now this waterburyanum came with a big chunk, and it came with that leaf and it came with this leaf, and then after I put them in our biodynamic compost, then they start sending out leaves that are twice the size generally, if the chunk is big. This is Domesticum, and all the leaves were small, and then it sent out this big leaf here, and then it sent out this even bigger leaf. So I don't think it's the humidity that is the indicative of the leaf size. For sure it's just like the plants that grow in the yard. It's the soil health, the health of your medium, your pot medium. Kind of scares me when I see people handling that like Olosappo, and they're like breathing while they're doing it without a mask. And I remove all the soil when I buy plants, all of it, if I can, without damaging the roots. Sometimes I have to leave them in there if their roots are entangled in the moss or something, but a lot of times the anthuriums come with like a cocoa core and some like mostly rotted plant stuff, so they come apart. The philodendrons, a lot of times they come in moss, but I throw it all in the trash. I don't recycle that crap. It's probably highly toxic for our system because we are organic certified farm and biodynamics. Everything we grow has to be organic, biodynamic, certifiable. So we grow everything the same way in our biodynamic compost that we make here on the farm. I make. And it's an aged thermophilic compost, so it's a 2-year-old process, 2-year process to make our compost. It's not something you can rush. Sometimes if it rains a lot, it can be sped up, but we don't water it, we don't turn it, we don't disturb it. We treat the compost like we treat our soil, undisturbed. Look at these philodendrons, are just, they're so stunning. This varicosum, people struggle with this, but it's kind of one of the easier plants here. Because people get pest and disease issues. Because you use chemicals, that's why you get those. If you have to put your plant in a grow tent, it's probably because you're using chemicals. So when you don't grow naturally, you have to keep the environment perfect. So people equate that with houseplant, the indoor house conditions, but if you're using soil, guaranteed that the plant would be able to respond to your conditions in your house better than the conditions, the growing conditions when it's in a chemical-based medium that you're growing your plants in. So I was talking about this. This was like my most recent import. This was a Philodendron Heterocraspidon from Ecuador, and it just came with all the leaves dropped off, and the plant was kind of yellow, and but it seems to be coming back to life. And then these are mother plants of Philodendron Esmeraldance. 3 different types: narrow, AFF, and regular Esmeraldense. This is Philodendron Heterocraspidon that was imported from Ecuador, AFF. This looks different from the other one. This is a Philodendron Patriciae that I did cuttings of, and it's sending out 2 growth points finally. It's been a very slow plant to respond to the organic outside growing conditions here. One of the harder, but it was here during the 31 degrees. It didn't kill it, and it was 31 degrees out here in this porch. So, and then 32 the next night, which is very odd. But so I think that may have stunted it. But as soon as I did cuttings of it, it seemed to wake up a little bit. So that's good. This Philodendron Pariso Verde is finally coming out with color on it. This looks like it's going to be very white. This is a little node cutting of Philodendron Burley Marks that I bought. I tend to not buy nodes anymore, but when I first started out, I wanted to get as many as I could, so I bought nodes because they're cheap, and I see a growth point starting on the little node. This is a Philodendron Jose Buono. Stunning plant. This is Philodendron Domesticum, Verigata. It's going to have very nice variegation on its new leaf here. This is a Philodendron Biliate. This was a tissue culture plant of a variegated form, but I don't see any variegation coming out. But I have it over here in the sun. This is a Philodendron Painted Lady with that mushroom. This is Philodendron Pink Princess. This is plastic from the hay. This is a real problem. Plastic pollution is a real problem. We make compost out of our hay, so and the cows probably eat some of that plastic. Makes me sick. So I'm gonna increase our cow pastures so that I could take them completely off of any hay because of that issue. So I just have to get some fences built for that process to wean them off the hay completely. I never gave them hay the first year I had them, and then I built a barn, and I was like, wanted them to be nice and comfy, so I thought I was helping them, but sometimes when you think you're helping something and you interfere, you're not. Which is the case with fertilizers. What are you doing, bunny? I think you need to watch out. There's a cat over here. I know. You're not a tame rabbit. Go hide in the woods or whatever you do. Just gonna go and look at my star apples. We got rain for a couple days. It was supposed to rain again yesterday, but it didn't, so it's kind of a bummer. But I could feel the rainy season is starting up. This canistel tree is just covered in, it's produced fruit for the first time last year. I got a few fruit off of it. Delicious fruit. Grafted tree called Delightful from the Garden of Delights. I think they're down in Homestead or something. But it's quite happy. It's a very happy tree. And I love egg fruit. It's one of my favorite fruits. So the yellow passion fruit. They're quite large. The heliconia make excellent trellis for passion fruit. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get them to grow up and do the passion fruit on them. It's kind of pretty, all this mess put together. Not your typical Florida garden. It's a tree aloe. When I lived in San Diego, I had I think 15 different types of tree aloes, 50 different types of aloes in general. But cacti and succulent are a little bit different here. They grow better here, but some of them just don't like all the rain. It's that Queemuck tree. Got a lot of yellow leaves from the drought, but it sure looks healthy. I mean, the leaves that are on there look great. Shedding leaves is good. You know, a lot of people, their philodendrons, their leaves start getting small. That's from too much calcium. So it's because they store calcium in their tissue, and when the leaves start getting smaller and smaller, it's generally because of a nutrient imbalance from too much calcium from chemical fertilizers. Because when you use chemical fertilizers, the plants don't uptake the correct amounts. They just suck in everything from the salt-based fertilizers. And calcium gets sucked up in too large of quantities, and that's why you get smaller and smaller leaves on your philodendrons. If you grow them naturally, it doesn't happen. Well, I mean, it could, but be a lot less likely. All right, go look at the orchids are still hanging in there. They don't seem to mind the drought too much. Go look at the star apples here. Boy, it's amazing what just a little bit of rain does for a couple days. It's just, whoa. So this is probably what I consider the rarest star apple there is in the US, called the Juicy Pearl. This is a seed-grown tree. It's 2 years old. It survived the 31 degrees and 32 degrees, thank God. And here it is. And I'm thinking that these things, supposedly this can fruit in 2 years, this particular one. Unfortunately, I think I only have one tree of this, but I imagine it can cross-pollinate with the Caimito. they look very similar, and they're in the same family. So it's Chrysophyllum argenteum auratum or something like that. I don't know. It's something. I don't know. Sorry. So then we have the Jaco Beach, the green sugar apple. These are all seed-grown trees. This one should be of size to fruit, I would think. I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, to flower. And it's in close enough range to, but probably wasn't going to flower during the drought because it was showing some drought stress. This damage on this leaf is from the freeze. So it's got some new leaves that are coming out finally, and I imagine once it starts being real wet and humid here, it could possibly start flowering. So I'm looking forward to that, but it hasn't done that yet. Certainly can survive without being watered. The seed-grown trees that are started correctly, there's all this misinformation out there that's been proliferating for years on how to grow plants, and sterilizing seeds is not a good practice for organic growing. We don't remove the husk from our mangoes seeds. We definitely don't sterilize our mango seeds, and, or any of our seeds. So this is a giant purple from Fruit Lovers Nursery. I love Fruit Lovers Nursery as a seed source. He does it on his own, and sometimes he might forget an order. You have to let him know. But the seeds are fresh usually, which hasn't been the case with some of the other sellers that don't have their own fruit farms, like Fruit Lovers Nursery. So their seeds don't grow. But I've always had good luck with Oscar's seeds from Fruit Lovers, and I highly recommend his seeds. But you have to inoculate them. I inoculate them with compost or some sort of cow manure, and they seem to do just fine. This is a seed-grown tree that should be getting of size to produce flowers. 5 years old, I think. It's 6 now, so it could be 5, but I think it's 5 or 6 years. I'd have to look at my records, but close enough. So this is another Oscar's giant purple star apple. So I have this 2-year-old ingot tree that's just giant. I got a bunch of other trees planted around it. I have a Garcinia dulcis planted around it that are growing really fast. And then I have my DPI Gold, which is another very rare star apple. There it is. Dry farmed, you know, not given any water. It seems to be doing okay. It's gonna grow. It hasn't been in the ground that long, I think a year. It's from a seed-grown plant. I bought the plant, but it was like in one of those tiny little 1-inch pots from Hawaii. Not from Fruit Lovers. I only buy seeds. I try to only buy seeds when I buy. I kind of don't have to buy anything anymore. So I was looking all over for this Vietnamese Pink star apple, but I was looking for some some small plants, and then I see that it's right here, but this is a Caimito. I don't know what that is particular, but we'll see. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different star apples. I have a cutting of the juicy pearl that I started in dry pure cow manure, zebu manure. There is a difference between zebu manure and other cow manure, different types of cows. So this is how we plant our little tiny seedling trees. This is from one of those organic cuties that are seedless. And I like to eat a lot of the, buy and eat a lot of the organic fruit that don't have seeds, and every now and then you come across a seed and there it is. No water, sitting there by itself. This is a sweet orange, navel orange, so it's a seedless group of oranges, and I found a couple seeds. This is one of them, so I'm excited about that too. Dry farmed. Got achachas through here and other fruit trees, but mostly in here I have encephalardos. Encephalardos are considered an edible food, so technically you food freaks, because there's a lot of people, seems mostly men, that's all they grow is food crops. But this, it's way too expensive to use for food and way too slow growing, but I believe it's the native people of Australia, the original cancel culture that people did on the Native Americans and the native indigenous people from Australia and elsewhere. It's all part of the colonial fertilizing scheme, nutrient scheme, creating a product to sell, destroying nature's ability to grow plants. Different encephalardos through here. But I have some Apuntias and Encephalardos horridus, and I have the Encephalardos longifolius, some others, blue types Encephalardos. I haven't bought any. I buy little tiny plants because they're way too expensive large, so I buy the little tiny seed started plants and plant them here in between the bromeliads, and then I just keep dividing the bromeliads so that it don't kill the encephalardos with their leaves, smothering, crowding them out for moisture. Basically, they don't attack the other plant, but they can kill a small tree if their frond gets on the covers the frond of the small palm. Here's one here. I don't know what we got. 30. Oh, I have an Olosappo tree in here I wanted to look at. Olosappo is one of those, what's the Latin name? I can't think of it offhand. One of those fruits that looks really good and delicious. Olosappo. And we grow it like we grow all our other tropical fruit trees and citrus trees, and just plant it out in the orchard floor. And it's survived the drought, which kind of surprised me. But it obviously needed start getting some water. And Cephalartis are getting kind of big finally. I'm excited about those. Those will look good once they start showing their leaves more, so to say. Anyway, this is Frog Valley Tropical Fruit Farm. I hope you have a beautiful day.